Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 63. Let's jump into things. Kicking it off with an Odie, a sleepy Odie. Oh, poor boy. That poor boy. Okay, so kicking it off with some thrones. So starting off, we have Ohm taking the Throne of Death and the Iron Throne. Okay. And this is the kind of like what would have been, right? The end of the game. If Ohm was able to add these two thrones to the two other thrones of the three other thrones he attacked, I believe. Right? So this is just Ohm garnering what he can from the situation and going from there. So cool. Nothing ultimately especially interesting about either of these that I think we just need to be cognizant of. Actually, Pelagia is sitting on top of the Throne of Death right now, so I don't know how much longer Ohm is going to have that throne. We'll see. And then we did some site searching. So we site searched for Auspex, didn't find anything. We site searched with another Auspex and found a Thunder Oak. So that's one air. Cool. Voice of Bapsu, Gnome Lore, nothing. And that was it. So site searching for the turn, we got air +1 per turn, which is fine. Just kind of like rounding things out a little bit there. Finishing up the last little bits of site searching that we need to do. Then we got some battles, and really by some battles we just have a single battle, and then we'll watch some battles. So we attacked some Indies in Klon, some knights that had taken this province from us, and we sent in, very specifically, because this province has a Well of Pestilence in it, we sent in primarily Long Dead, although we do have some Huacas in here, just for shits and giggles. We have a Malkui Priest leading things. And yeah, this is a bunch of Long Dead. Should lose a lot of them to the Knights, but the Knights should slowly but surely get chopped up. And that should be that. And this is kind of like, this is what the future looks like for us, right? Like, oh, here's a problem. Let's throw 300 Long Dead at it. Let's throw 500 Long Dead at it. Let's throw 3,000 Long Dead at it. Okay, 3,000 is a bit much, but not unfathomable for us as we get further and further into this kind of concept. So, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Battles for the turn versus Indies, 1 win, 0 loss. Cool. And then we've got two battles to watch. Ulm versus Vanheim and Ulm versus Pelagia. So, this is versus basically nothing. This is just Ulm or Vanheim with the scout here. Like I said, there's a little bit of a spat going on between Vanheim and Ulm as they like iron out the conditions of peace, but peace is happening. And then there is a battle here on Ulm versus Pelagia, and Pelagia has an actual army. Pelagia is not going down. Pelagia wants this throne. So we got poor old Commander, the Black Lord, over here, sacrificing some gear, it looks like. Oof. Nada. Alright, well, that's cool. Those are the battles for the turn. We've got some unexpected events. In Ranthian, a handful of magic gems have been found in the prime of the season. Got some nature gems. In Mammoth Grove, a handful of gems have been found in the shards of a broken mirror. Got some air gems. And in Centania, a seer has been strangled to death by an angry mob after getting false prophecies of good fortune. One of his eyes looked strange, and it has been transported to the capital. So we got an Eye of the Void. Cool. Events for the turn. 0 negative, 3 positive. We got 7 air gems, 2 nature gems, and 1 Eye of the Void, which is nice. Nothing crazy or anything like that. Just a nice little extra item we can put on and mind hunt some people. I think Eye of the Void is the one. Yeah, it gives penetration 2, but also gives magic resistance 2 and is cursed. So, and tainted, so the person's gonna die to a horror eventually. But great for a mind hunt spammer, right? Put this and then the Rune Smasher, which is pretty difficult for us to make outside of our god. And what's the other thing? There's a thing. There's a thing. Forge. There's the Eye of the Void, the spell focus. So penetration 1, Fool's Luck. Penetration 2, and then the Rune Smasher, I believe, is here, and it's pin 2. So you can get pin 5, and just shotgun a Mind Hunter repeatedly, and yeah, pretty cool. So, that world events, the Throne of Death has woken. Units have aged, which is mostly fine for us. Most of the things that we had that can go old age easily are already old age, like our Huron priests or things like that, but the rest of our stuff is undead or is very unlikely to age to the point of old age. Like our Incas or Koyas or things like that are very unlikely to age to the point of old age. Like these guys are 83, they at 136, like it takes a long time for them to max age. So yeah. And that is that. What do we got going on? So, as I said, there is still a little spat going on between Ulm and Vanheim, but they are having peace. They're trying to, I don't know, what's the assert dominance, I guess, but the overtures that I'm hearing during discussions is that they're not gonna go into an all-out crazy war with each other, so that's pretty interesting. And all the rest of what's happening is just us moving things around. So we have made peace with Vanheim. Ulm and Vanheim are in process of making peace. Arcocephale is now attacking Ulm and has all but finished off Nabaa and maybe is attacking Vanarus. I'm not 100% sure on that side of things. Pelagia is continuing to attack coastal provinces here or there, but not us. We've had, with both Pelagian players, both the original Pelagian player and the current Pelagian player, we have had what's the word I'm looking for? Amiable diplomacy, I suppose. No naps or anything like that, just being like, hey, you know, we're not intending on attacking, you can keep your land, blah 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 blah, which is nice because we're totally changing that. Like I think now with the situation, unless something drastically changes in the next 10 to 15 turns with Vanheim and Ulm, our next target is gonna be Pelagia. So what are we thinking about? What is our next kind of like goal here? We are naturally progressing to the point of catching up via research, right? But one of the things that we don't have is size or mass, right? It's very, very difficult in Dominions to play tall, right? Like you would in some strategy games. Even if you have a scales build, it is still very difficult to play tall, right? So we do not have a scales build, but one of the ways that you do play tall in Dominions is through large gem economies, right? We absolutely have and free spawn, right? We absolutely have the ability to do free spawn and large gem economies, but we don't have necessarily the massive gem base. We are going to, in order to get a win in the late game, which, you know, we're getting there. We're getting to the point to where unless someone throne rushes soon, we're going to hit that late game. And once we hit the late game, we're going to be all caught up, right? So in order to really kind of like throw our weight around in the late game, we need mass. Having more income would be nice because it lets us do things like Royal Malquis more easily. But more specifically, what we're interested in is gem mass. And I don't think Vanheim is the good idea, and I don't want to backstab Ulm, right? Ulm is probably, honestly, our best target here in the next 10 to 15 turns, right? It would make more sense for us to take out Ulm. But Ulm has been friendly with us, and Ulm has been willing to assist us, right? Whereas Pelagia is just kind of like this threat. And Pelagia, as an underwater threat, is someone that is going to be a kind of an eternal thorn in everyone's side. But as we can see, right, like the masses of Long Dead I'm starting to produce, and what I'm going to be able to produce with Supayas, thanks to the Ultimate Gateway, right? This is going to be our ticket in with the Throne of Water to actually attacking Pelagia. Because see, here's the thing: people talk about like, oh, it's so difficult to fight underwater nations underwater because it just turns into water elemental spam, or you can't cast 90% of the things that you can on land, right? That's all true, absolutely true, right? But you can cast a whole shit ton of buffs underwater, and Supayas fly underwater, and we will have a massive amount of chaff, and we will actually we won't be able to match Pelagia, right, for what's the term I'm thinking here? We won't be able to match Pelagia with the idea of having, you know, they might have 60 water mages, for example, and we might have, you know, 15 or 20, right? By the time all of this goes down. They might have 200 water mages, but they're not going to have 200 water mages in one battle, right? They're going to have 200 water mages spread out. So we can have 10 or 15 water mages in a single battle, right? And focus on that type of scenario. The other thing is we actually will potentially have a superior ability to raid via things like our Huron priests and small squads of Supayas. Huron priests and small squads of Supayas, you put a ring of water breathing on a Huron priest, and you send it out with a squad of, you know, 15, 20, 30 Supayas, and you can keep a couple on guard commander and bless them up. Hold an attack rear, bless, boom, they go kill everything, and the Huron priest is relatively safe. That can take on a whole shit ton, and we can hit from our coast with, you know, 5 or 10 of these Huron priests. We can almost elf, right? It's not really the same thing, but it's Flyers, right? It's Flyers, but underwater. So, you know, we could actually hit a large portion. I know what I think. What I'm trying to do is explain why the fuck would we go after Pelagia if we're like, oh, this two cap Van is too strong for us to fight against. This 3 cap Ulm, but probably too strong for us to fight against. But this 3 cap Pelagia, we could totally take that, right? Like, it sounds like it's not logical, but it is somewhat logical. Casting and what you can do underwater is incredibly restricted. And in fighting against Vanheim, right? Vanheim has so many tools thanks to research that we do not have that he will use against us. But Pelagia, even with more research than us, doesn't have that many tools underwater comparatively, because there are just fewer tools underwater comparatively. Which means at the end of the day, having really mobile sacreds that can attack rear because they fly in water, which is stupid, right, is actually very, very strong. So we very well might be able to really take some land off of Pelagia without too much issue. So we'll see. That's the goal, right? And then the other thing is by the time 10 or 15 turns rolls around, we're going to have so many massive piles of Long Dead that we can do things like, you know, rigor mortis plays versus Pelagia, which they're going to have difficult times dealing with, right? We can aim to have most of the buffs on our... Because by 10, 15 turns, right? We're gonna basically be caught up. So there's a lot that we can do, and it's gonna take a lot of time and preparation. But I think once we finally do it, the situation is going to be, even if we don't, I think I've said this before, even if we don't just straight out kill Pelagio, right? What we could do is we could carve out a huge chunk of the ocean and then be like, okay, let's peace out, right? And then do something else. And that huge chunk of the ocean could mean an extra capital for us, could mean an extra 20 or 30 gem income, and that can fuel, right, the capability of fighting a bigger opponent elsewhere, especially if we are able to threaten multiple vectors, right? Like if we're able to bridge over to the other side, yeah, that would be crazy. Anyways, so that's the kind of plan, that's the play. Obviously, we're gonna have to stay abreast of the situation with Vanheim and Ulm and everything else that is going on in the game, because at any given time, right, we might have to pull the trigger. We might have another Ulm situation where we're like, okay, well, we can't, we've got to do something, right? For now, Van and I, in the piece that we have made, have kind of prepared for that. If either of us control 4 thrones, then we no longer have a nap, right? Which I think is pretty typical for this type of situation. Obviously, there are ways to exploit that, right? To hit all of the thrones that you would need all at the same time. And be like, technically, I don't control any of these yet. I'm just sieging them, right? So there's definitely ways around it. But just as Van can do that, we can do that too, right? Like, we only have 2 thrones right now, but we are close to a 3rd here down in the Throne of Death. We're close to 2 of Van's thrones, and I mean, if we can bridge a gap in the water, we could potentially be close to more thrones. So, just something to keep in mind, you know. That throne? That's the throne of Gaia over there. I could just beeline across and be like, "Give me that throne," right? Okay. What else do we have going on? Now, let's talk about the mechanics of the actual turn, shall we? Recruitment for the turn. We have 2 Aklas, 1 Huron Priest, 5 Sun Guard, and 2 Dinyashi. This is nothing really complex or crazy going on here. Trying to recruit more Aklas for Lightless Lantern holders and all the rest of the stuff as we can. We do not have much of an economy, so we get very little each turn, unfortunately. We are limping along. It's rough. On the other side, Nazcan recruits. We have 112 Long Dead Warriors this turn, 12 Supayas, and 1 Summoned Huaka for 7 Huakas. We're wasting gems yet again. I promise that I will eventually realize my error and do something about it, but not this turn and not next turn either. No Haten Runa this turn because we just got everyone over to Gulm, another province we're going to burn down, and go from there. So, yep, should be good. We'll have Haten Runa coming in next turn, and like I said, I think in a previous turn, I think last turn, we're gonna burn down Gulm, but this time we're gonna do it with kind of a plan. We're going to put a stack of Haten Runa in every single province, either a stack of Haten Runa or a stack of Long Dead, right? Basically, in every single province, patrolling to try to blind the eyes of our enemies. Elsewhere, we have special recruits, 1 Direwolf, 1 Dustwalker, continuing to build our little armies there. And rituals. We have 1 Augury, 1 Auspex, 1 Gnome Lore, and 1 Cloud Trapeze. So the Augury, Auspex, and Gnome Lore, we just have a handful of places where we are trying to finish out the site searching that we've got. So really, really close to being done there. I say close to being done there. As you can see with the Augury, right? Like, we've got plenty of places that are Fire 2 searched. And I do want to search all of them with a fucking hope that we find any goddamn fire. This is an issue. Like, this is a big freaking issue. Like, 5 fire gems? Get out of here. I need fire. I'm partially a fire nation. We actually get fire from our capital. We have fire mages. This is a problem. Give me more fire, game. What is wrong with you? This has actually been really, really tough. This has been very unlucky, and that's actually one of the other reasons that I'm relatively interested in potentially fighting Pelagia. There's a surprising amount of fire underwater. At least I have found. You get a lot of like combo sites with fire underwater. So hopefully, right? Like we'll get another 5 fire gems and be able to actually do something with fire. That would be great, you know. And then the Cloud Trapeze is actually, we're sending Manco Oklo down to the Ultimate Gateway, because next turn we're going to have Well of Misery. So it's time. We're probably just going to risk it, throw it out there, and cross our fucking fingers, because I do think it's relatively likely for us to win. Most of the globals that went up, I'm assuming went up relatively lightly. Ours, barely any overcast. That Mother Oak, I'm assuming barely any overcast. That Stellar Focus, probably barely to no overcast, because there wasn't a reason for them to have much of an overcast, because they weren't competing against anything, right? Earthblood Deepwell, I do think is a more common concept of like stockpiling and having that for the rest of the game type situation. So it's possible that Ulm it has a pretty high overcast on this. At the same time, though, Ulm uses their freaking Earth Gems like crazy. So, again, because of non-compete, there's entirely the possibility that they were just like, nah, we'll just put it up for a bit, right? I would expect a bit of an overcast on this, maybe like 50 to 100, but not the kind of overcast that we're looking at doing, right? And then this Gift of Health, we did find out that the other Gift of Health was like a 30 overcast or whatever. So this Gift of Health, I expect to be more robust than the prior. Maybe. Because Van did wait like a turn or two to put it back up. So if it was immediately the next turn, I would have assumed that it would have been just like a very simple, 5 overcast or something like that. But I don't know. I'm unsure, and we shall have to see. So, regardless, though, I'm pretty sure almost anything that we hit is going to be overwritten. And if not, I will be very, very sad. Yeah, that's what's going on there. And then we have some forging. We got 2 lightless lanterns, 2 water lenses, 1 moonvine bracelet, and 1 amulet of anti-magic. So let's chit-chat about that, shall we? Lightless lanterns, don't really need to explain those. Continuing to we're trying to aim for like the 1500 mark with our research. I found 15, I mean, obviously if you go higher, you will just skyrocket through things. You get to the 2000, 2500 mark, you'll just delete research. But as long as you get to like the 1500 mark, you can kind of get through things in a reasonable pace, right? So that's kind of what we're aiming for, at least in the initial scenario. Water lenses, we're going to try to outfit every single Hydromancer with a water bracelet and a water lens. Free water gems as we prepare to head into Pelagia in the next 10 to 15 turns or whatever. That type of concept. So we'll get to the point to where all of our water mages have water bracelets and water lenses, and then we'll make a new water bracelet, water lens for every new mage, but we'll also start turning into rings of water breathing. Will probably be our big plan there. Moonvine bracelet, putting together nature sets. And then Amulet of Anti-Magic, putting together anti-magic sets, basically. Because I want to put, amulets of anti-magic on. I'm toying with the idea of like how Royal Malquis are incredibly potent casters, but they take a lot to set up. They're incredibly potent casters because they have innate spellcaster, right? But they also have to deal with the fact that they have very shallow paths, and they have very weirdly restrictive item slots, right? So you need to have very specific gear on them to do certain things, and that gear can be difficult to come by, or that gear can be, so it's a very weird situation where it's a concept of like, obviously using your Royal Malquis in battle is going to be a big deal, and you should. But it takes a lot of prep work. It's not just like, oh, I summoned this Royal Malquis, throw some basic stuff on him, send him out to go kick some ass, right? Like you would with a lot of super combatants or things like that. You really got to prep things. So we're gonna try to be prepping things over the course of the next 10, 15 turns, and adding more Royal Malquis to our sets, to our lineup, but also balancing who we're going to use and who we're just going to have summoning shit, basically. So we'll see how that goes. And that's mostly it, honestly. Kind of a chill turn, which is good because, again, stressful time period, a lot of work going on, a lot of stress at work. So yeah. Gonna hopefully fingers crossed we will have success with Well of Misery in 2 turns, and we'll see how that goes. Aside from that, once we're done, as you can see, right, we could go higher into Conjuration, and there is some kind of like call to go towards Tartarian Gate, but without a build for Tartarians, or without Gift of Health, which I just don't think we are going to be able to compete with. Again, we much like our fire income, we have a pretty low nature income. If we had like 15 and up nature income, I would absolutely consider just stockpiling nature gems for 10 to 15 turns, and then doing some Gift of Health steal shenanigans. I could totally see doing that, and it would probably be worthwhile for us to do that and do Tartarians at the ultimate gateway, because we'd be getting tarts for 6 gems. But the problem with tarts is most of them come very fucked up, right? So without a way to heal them, they're all but useless, and then a lot of them come as not as commanders. They come as units, and that takes a lot of either nature or astral to deal with, and we're kind of tapped right now. So probably not something that we're going to be that interested in doing, even though that's just a restriction, right? Like if we can get more astral gems, we can get more nature gems, specifically nature gems, right, to try to compete with Gift of Health, or for Gift of Health rather, then I could totally see us aiming for something like that. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I think that is probably going to be it for now. We're gonna run up Alteration after Conjuration, so that we can actually get battle magic to compete with people, mass protection at least, right? Fog warriors, right? So should be good. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye everybody. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.